Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Jeffrey Lazarus, and you are watching Welcome to CastleStorm on the Gaming Vector. CastleStorm is a game reminiscent of Crush the Castle or Angry Birds with a few new elements thrown in. This is a $10 title on the Xbox Live Arcade, created by Zen Studios. So let's jump right into it and see what this offering has. So, as you can see here, we do have both single player and multiplayer. We are going to go ahead and jump directly into the single player. Now, as you can see, we've got 4 modes: campaign, skirmish, survival, and hero survival. So, in this game, you will be playing as a hero when you are manning your ballista, firing your different types of ammunition at the enemies. You can also teleport that hero out onto the battlefield to engage in direct combat with the enemies. Hero survival is basically the direct combat in wave form, just trying to take out as many enemies as you can and not lose. Whereas survival is the same thing, but with the full slew of features where you are manning the ballista, firing at enemies, so on and so forth. Skirmish is an adversarial mode with 2 castles, and you are trying to either use your troops to capture the other castle's flag and bring it back, or alternatively destroy the other player's castle. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the campaign here, and we are going to take a look at possibly one of the earlier parts of the game. And we're going to take a look at keeping the keep here. If I remember right, this one should let us see the full slew of things we can do. So here we have our difficulty setting. We've got My Castle, Equipment, and Start Battle. So under Equipment, we have 4 different tabs here. The first one is projectiles for our ballista. So as you can see, I'm to the point where I have 5 different projectiles. They all do different amounts of damage and work differently between regular enemies and hitting the opposing castle. Here we've got our spells. Now this one here will allow us to summon our hero onto the battlefield for combat. This allows us to heal our troops. We can summon our own troops and send them out onto the battlefield as well. And this is just a straight magical attack. Now the last 2 tabs are tied into the building of your castle. So we have 3 different types of troops here. We've got swordsmen, archers, and paladins, and then here we have special types of bonus rooms. So as you can see, instead of having an equip button down in the bottom, it has a My Castle button. We can also upgrade these to give ourselves more bonuses. As you can see, it's upgraded using gold. It's a set amount for a particular level. We'll go ahead and upgrade as many as we can here. And now we're going to jump into My Castle. So as you can see, there's a few pre-built ones here already, as well as some locked ones that will be opened up through playing through the campaign. But if we go all the way to the end of the list here, we have the castle that I have built. So as you can see, it's got all of the bonus rooms in it. It's got the barracks for all the different types of troops. And while we're here, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the castle editor so I can show you exactly how this works. And then once we're done looking at that, we will jump into the actual gameplay and combat. So this is the castle editor. It's all based on this grid system. And as you can see down in the lower left, I have 50 out of 50 rooms. We're going to go ahead and delete a handful of these, just so I can kind of show real quick how this works. So by pressing A, we open up our menu of rooms. We have 4 different types. There are structural, which are just basic building blocks, so that you can get the shape of your castle, or maybe use these thicker walls to get more protection on the front end, so on and so forth. The second one is your different types of barracks for your different types of troops. If you do not have that barracks built into the castle, you will not be able to use that type of troop. Here we have bonus rooms. So recruiting office increases maximum army size. The pantry generates food faster. Food generates over time. And each troop type uses a certain type of, a certain amount of food to get out onto the battlefield. You also have the treasury, which allows us to get more gold. And then here at the end, we have our different types of gates. We're going to go ahead and use the massive gate. Now, when it comes to placing rooms, you simply hit A, choose your type of room, and then you can use your left stick to maneuver around and plop it down wherever you want. When it turns red, obviously you can't put the room there. When it's green, that's a viable location. Now, you could do, like, say, hanging this room up in the air, but it's going to crumble immediately, so you want to make sure everything has a base on the ground. So we're going to go ahead and pop that in there. Now we can use X to flip the room if you want to do something symmetrical. And then we can finish out our castle exactly back the way it was. Now, you can press the start button to open up this menu. This allows you to clear out your castle, load one, save one, and go into test mode. Now, test mode will actually allow me to show you what a little bit of the gameplay is like. So down at the bottom, you can see there are multiple different icons. Those are different types of projectiles. And then on the screen, you may be able to see the white arc, which allows us to direct our shots. So, first off, this is a javelin shot. As you can see, it doesn't do a whole lot of damage there. This is a Morning Star shot, I believe. Once again, not a ton of damage. Those are more for taking out ground troops. But then here in the center, we have an explosive shot, and this should do a pretty fair amount of damage. And this will allow you to test out how strong your castle construction is. Then we have a couple other different types of shots. Including a sheep. Because the game doesn't take itself too seriously. Also, with things such as these explosive shots, when it's launched in the air, you can press A to detonate it early. So, when you're using these against troops on the battlefield, you may be able to lob it over a group of troops and then blow it up right over their heads and do as much damage as possible rather than missing the guy you're aiming for. So that's pretty much the castle editor in a nutshell. It's not terribly in-depth, but it does allow you to build up the castle exactly the way you need it to be for the items you want to use for your battle. So we're going to go ahead and select the castle we were just looking at. And as you can see now, the different troops and rooms are equipped. So what we are going to do now is jump right into the battle and take a look at things. Now, hopefully this will be slow enough at the beginning. We'll be able to get a decent look at everything before things get too crazy. So, by using the left trigger, I can look at my castle to make sure it hasn't been completely destroyed. There we've got a wolf coming in on the ground, so we're just going to try and hit him with these triple bolts. Successfully did that. As I say, you aim using your left stick, you fire with the A button. And once again, multiple different types of shots. Now there you can see we had a multi-kill. So what that usually allows you to do is, from the best I can tell, be able to do more damage to the enemies. So now we've got quite a few guys coming in here. So we're going to press X and spawn in some soldiers. And down in the lower left of the screen, you can see the food meter as well as the amount of soldiers we're allowed to have on the field versus how many we have on the field. And there you can see my troops marching out of the castle, coming out, fighting these guys off. We're going to press A and jump back over to our various types of shots and try and take out this big guy. Now, there is one thing that just happened right there that I neglected to mention. You can hit your own troops, so you do want to be a little bit careful with where you're aiming your shots, especially when you have guys on the field. So what we're going to do now is use a spell. By pressing Y, we can use our magical blades on that guy, and then we can tab over and summon our hero into the fight. And we can summon him anywhere on the battlefield. We're actually going to bring him in back here so he can deal with these guys. So he does have a couple different types of attacks. There's a basic attack. There's a charged attack. He can pull out a bow and arrow. And he can also shield himself. And we're just going to try and deal with as many of these guys as we can before his timer runs out and he has to go back to the base. So as you can see, the map's not terribly huge. We managed to just fight our way completely across it. And now we are back in the base. So we're going to spawn in some more soldiers here. And that pretty much shows off all of the aspects of the game I've seen so far. Now, once again, you do have multiple gameplay modes. As well as adversarial multiplayer, where you can go castle versus castle with your friends and see who has the better fortifications and try and take out each other's structures, so on and so forth. So, all in all, this is a fairly interesting title. It's got a nice graphical style. As you can see, it's very, very cartoony looking. We're going to summon our hero again just so we can get a little bit better look at the characters. You can see it's very cartoony looking. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but it still has a fair bit of difficulty. As you can see right there, dying very quickly. It does still have a fair bit of difficulty to it. And me personally, I think it's worth your $15. Or even your $10, considering that's how much the game actually costs. And I'm just silly for thinking it was $15. Now you can see our castle getting smashed up. That's not a good thing at all. We are probably going to end up failing here. So there are two ways to fail. You can fail by either having your castle get destroyed, or, that was a terrible shot, or by having your flag stolen out of your castle, like this guy has done here. You can see he's got the marker over his head that he has the flag. So what we're going to want to do here is just try and fight off the rest of the enemies, and hopefully we're getting fairly close to the end of this actual battle. And there we are, victory. And we can see our mission time, our accuracy, difficulty, rooms lost, your main objective, bonus objectives, and your star ratings. And then we can restart, we can go back to the main menu, or we can go and look at some more statistics, our total kills, shooting frenzies, ballista kills, so on and so forth. And then select our next mission, where we have story missions, or we also have side missions. So the side missions will allow you to earn a little bit more gold to help upgrade your characters, help upgrade your army and your castle, so on and so forth. So as you can see, that was just one of the 4 missions that are listed here. And that took about 10 minutes or so. And as you can see, most of these have what look to be 3, 4, 5 missions. So you've got a fair amount of gameplay here. It's a pretty interesting game. It does get a little bit hard to see where you're aiming your shots from the ballista at times. And the ground combat is not terribly in-depth, but those are really my only 2 complaints about the game. So I would definitely recommend this to anybody who's into these type of games. They say it is available on Xbox Live Arcade. It is a $10 title. It does have full multiplayer. It's got leaderboards. It's got achievements. I have been your host, Jeffrey Lazarus, and thank you for watching Welcome to CastleStorm on the Gaming Vector.